just testing. Gotta test the sound. Testing the sound. Testing. Testing. Alright, let's begin. The four of us cousins were enjoying our stories, just shooting the breeze. Anyway, there were both guys and girls here. Plus, we had people over a wide spread of ages, adult, high school, and elementary school. Even if we just talked about our own lives, the other three kept listening attentively. Excuse me. I think I'm finally getting used to all this. Jessica and Maria have grown more than I could have imagined the past 6 years. To be honest, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable, but talking like this, I guess that on the inside, nothing's really changed back since then. I agree. You haven't changed a bit even after 6 years. Even though your body's gotten gigantic, you're still a kid inside.
Ugh! I'm a kid too! I'm a kid too!
Well, even if you aren't gonna be a kid forever, are you, Maria? I mean, you're gonna transform into a cute young lady, aren't you? And when that happens, that flat-board chest will reach Jessica's level, huh? When that happens, you gotta let me touch him, okay? It's a promise.
Let you touch him! Promise!
No, Maria! You can't make that kind of promise. That's bad, bad, bad!
I promise, so I'll let him touch him. I keep my promises. Always keep them.
Maria, you're a really earnest good girl. The guy who's gonna be married is gonna be really lucky. Hey, stop trying to change the subject and making it sound pretty. Maria, that promise never happened. Never.
The promise is canceled?
As I thought, with that battle in our little quartet, this group of cousins just didn't feel complete. These 6 years have kind of been lonely. That's true. We didn't really goof off like this. Still, we had some pretty constructive conversations, right? Stuff about preparing for our future, exam taking, and finding jobs. Oh, I'm so sorry. Now that I'm here, we just talk about stupid stuff and mess around.
But I'm having more fun this year.
That's true. I agree. This year's the most fun yet. Maria's sincere words probably spoke for everyone present. George stroked Maria's head and she giggled like a happy kitten. Pardon me, your meal's ready. A timid knocking sound and the equally timid voice of a young woman came through the door. Jessica answered brightly. Shannon, come in! You remember Balor, right? Jessica stood up from the bed and opened the door. I messed up. I'm sorry. There stood a servant girl who must have been about our age.
It's been quite some time since we last met, Battler. It's nice to meet you after 6 years. It's me, Shannon.
Trembling a little as she noticed me, she bowed deeply. Jessica made me surprised, but look at you, Shannon. You've turned into a total beauty too, haven't you?
You're too kind.
Still, the food on this island must be really nutritional, huh? Where are you eating and how are you trained to get boobs that big? Guess I'll have to film a bit and see whether yours or Jessica's are bigger, okay? Remember this scene when we are up to episode 7 of Umineko. Always remember this scene. It's important for a reason, which I will reveal some other day, which will be a long time. Always remember this scene of Battler being a stupid pervert. It is important. With both hands poised and saliva dribbling from my mouth, I closed in. For the sake of justice and my personal honor, I'd like to point out that I don't suffer from some strange disease that makes my lip nose itch until I scratch my neck open, which can only be prevented by fondling breasts. This is just a Battler-style method of communication. If I slowly close in on her like this, odds are 8 out of 9 out of 10 that I get slapped or clobbered, right? So I can use this Battler original technique to spark a gag like this. I'll break the ice. Well, it also means I really do get to touch him on that 1 in 10 chance, though, right? Like that ever happened? At that point, my hands were less than a centimeter away from Shannon's boobs, but the counter-strike had yet to come. She blushed and lowered her head in embarrassment when she realized what was going on, She just stood there with both her hands politely joined in front of her, not even trying to resist or cover her breasts. Hey, I wasn't planning on this! Please hit me right now, or I'm seriously gonna... Which is why I was glad Jessica chose that time to drive her elbow into the back of my head. Remember that moment for eternity. Remember it. Because I will one day go back to this moment and tell you about what I was thinking. Okay? Alright. Thank you so much, Jessica! Why the hell are you thanking me? Seriously, my bad, Shannon. I almost got overwhelmed by your hypnotic chest. More importantly, anyone who gets that close has gotta be a molester. You've gotta fight back when people do that.
But you are an important guest, Battler.
Now look here, a pervert's a pervert, whether he's a guest or not. A girl's chest has got to be the air defense identification range about 10 centimeters or so. Once someone's trespasses within 2 centimeters, that's already an invasion of airspace. So you better scramble the jets immediately and give him an instant slap.
I couldn't do such a thing because we are, furniture.
Of course she didn't want her breasts touched, but if a guest so desired, she was prepared to sacrifice herself to suit their wants. A girl like this needs some urgent protection. To think such a devoted girl still exists in this era? It's enough to make a man dizzy. But no! No! I'm coming at you with a pervert face again. Knock me down. Look out. Pervert on the loose. This guy can't end until you deliver the punchline, so slap me. Please. Hit me.
I cannot fulfill your request because I'm furniture. But if it were an order, I'd obey you. Because that's my duty.
Then I'll make it an order. The next time Battler tries to touch your breast, counterattack with a slap. Got it?
Yes. As you wish. From now on, that's what I'll do. Please understand, Battler.
Shannon announced this while elegantly bowing to me. Her expression was radiant. I gave her a thumbs up to show her I was fine with that. 6 years ago, you might have been mistaken for a servant star who lent a hand at your parents' work, but now you're a full-fledged servant. How long have you been working here?
Well, I've had the pleasure of serving this household for about 10 years.
She's Shannon. The kanji for her name are read as Shannon. Now, here's another name that's far from the typical Japanese person. Back in the day, I was a kid myself, so I accepted her name without paying much attention. Thinking about it now, though, her name is pretty unusual, even though she's not a member of the Ushiromiya family. Maybe it's like the servant's professional name or something. If so, that might explain why her name's so similar to Kanon, that kid I met earlier in the Rose Garden. She's a long-term servant who served here since she was here for 6 years old. Her appearance had changed so much I couldn't match to the person of my memories, but we both knew each other 6 years ago. That shy part of her had always been there, but she did seem to have developed the allure you expect of a girl her age. Especially in her breasts, yes! That kid we met earlier, Kanon, is her little brother.
He's not exactly my little brother. Still, he loves me like a big sister. He didn't cause you any trouble, did he?
Haha! He's the same as always. If only you were just a bit more sociable.
I apologize if he's caused you any trouble.
Nah, he didn't cause me any trouble at all. As a fellow man, I understand how moody he can get at that age. It's no surprise he's unsociable.
I get called that all the time too! I get called unsociable! Just like Kanon!
But you aren't unsociable at all, Maria.
Wanted to be like him.
You said that the meal was ready, right?
Yes. I'm sorry. Your meal's been fully prepared, so please allow me to guide you all to the mansion.
Shannon bowed again formally and returned to her duty mode. We realized if we made her stick around for any more light conversation, it would actually make it hard for her to do her job. We got up from our butts and avoided interfering with her work any further. So, shall we go to the mansion? Everyone's probably hungry, right? Yeah! I'm really looking forward to Goda's food. That guy apparently was a chef at this famous hotel, so he's surprisingly good at cooking. It's his only redeeming quality. Ooh, I can't wait! Let's go, Maria! We're gonna stuff ourselves like pigs!
Ah! Stuff ourselves like pigs!
No, no. You can't take everything Battler says seriously, okay? Because he's always just joking around. Okay, let's go! Under Shannon's guidance, we headed toward the mansion. You know, in retrospect, when I read these lines, it makes me think. Met once again by the magnificent rose garden, we continued onward as the intimidating mansion of the Ushiramiya head family came to view. It had apparently been built shortly after the war, so you could feel the dignity of almost half a century hanging about it. The building was gorgeous on the surface, but as old as it was, equipment such as its AC and heating were apparently quite frail. According to Jessica, midwinter was especially tough, what with all the drafts. Haven't these people ever heard of a kotatsu? For people who don't know, it's a type of table with a blanket on it where you can, like, be warm and all that stuff. Makes me want to try one day. As we entered the entrance hall, an aged servant greeted us. Now him I remembered. Genji, who had been working here for longer than anyone else, filled the role of the head servant. Battler, it has been quite some time since we last met. As our eyes met, he greeted me with a calm, composed voice. His bow wasn't as graceful or defined as Goda's, but despite its simplicity, it communicated his feelings very well. Genji, it really has been a while. You look well. Thank you. I have been quite well. And Battler, you have become a splendid young man. You're beginning to resemble the master in his youth. I look like grandfather? Guess that means grandfather was pretty popular with the ladies when he was young. From here on, I will take Shannon's place and accompany you. Please come this way. Shannon bowed deeply and watched us leave. After that, we headed toward the dining room under Genji's guidance. Genji, like Kumasawa, stood in stark contrast to us young people who had grown beyond recognition over the last 6 years. His appearance was exactly the same as my memories from 6 years ago. It was as though time had stopped since we last met. Genji was an extremely quiet and diligent person. He was basically grandfather's close aide or caregiver, and you might even call him grandfather's companion of many years. Hold on, I want to check something. Okay. In fact, it seemed he was grandfather's side even more often than my late grandmother was. According to Jessica, grandfather trusted him more than any of his blood relatives. But I wonder how long he served. I never got all the details, but I heard something about him being here since the very beginning when the mansion was first constructed, which would mean he's been dedicated half of his life to serving here. It's easy to see why he's so trusted. As we passed through the massive hall that extended up into the second story of the mansion with no separating floor, I spotted something that hadn't existed in my memory of 6 years ago. It was an awfully big portrait hanging right in front of the stairs that rose to the second floor. Without thinking, I stopped walking, captivated by it. Since I stopped so fast, Maria, who was following behind me, ran to my back.
Ugh!
Sorry. Hey, Jessica, has that picture always been here? I pointed at the big, prominently displayed portrait in the hall. Everyone else stopped too. Oh, right. When you last came here, that hadn't been hung yet, had it? When was it again? Well, if my memory doesn't fail me, it was put on display sometime around the last year before last. You are correct, sir. In April of the year before last, the master put it on display here, having previously ordered a painter to create it. Grandfather did that? So he paid to have it painted just for him, huh? The portrait suited this western mansion, and that woman in the elegant dress gave off a sense of refinement. I couldn't have guessed her age, but her sharp eyes and strong will she seemed to possess made her look youthful. She seemed somehow different from the composed middle-aged woman you often see in the famous pictures. If she had normal black hair, I might have assumed it was a portrait of my long-deceased grandmother in her prime. However, she had beautiful blonde hair and didn't look Japanese at all. So, just who is this lady? Maria answered that simple question enthusiastically as though she was proud she knew the answer.
Ah! I know! She's Beatrice!
What? Beatrice. She's a witch. Didn't you ever hear stories about her long ago? A witch? You mean the witch of this island? I think I already said this, but Rokkenjima is a small island only 10 kilometers from the circumference. However, that's still pretty massive considering this is only the Ushirmiya family lives here. So, only the harbor and the area around the mansion were set to be lived in. Beyond that, the island remained as untouched as when it was uninhabited. The vast and empty forest had absolutely no lights or phones or people passing through. To understand how dangerous that is, you need to forget your common sense as a city dweller. After all, if you happen to fall down a hole in the depths of the forest and sprain your ankle, no one would come to save you no matter how much you cried or screamed. Then once the sun went down, the forest would be wrapped in complete darkness since there are no streetlights. And since there are no signs, it'd be easy to get lost and confused, losing your sense of direction inside the dark forest. Nowadays, most people don't see a forest as a peaceful place, but to the people by bygone eras before the light of civilization drove out the night, forests were as geographically separated from the civilization as the sea. They were the oceans above ground. Fishermen who go out into the ocean are putting their lives at risk, despite their technical knowledge. In the same way, hunters who go out in the forest are in danger, despite having specialized knowledge of their own. If children were to go play in such a dangerous forest, something terrible might happen. Someone's parents must have thought so. Maybe grandmother first said it, or maybe it was grandfather himself. Or perhaps the story's been passed down on this island since ancient times. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. At some point, this ghost story of Rokkenjima was born. And this is the legend of Rokkenjima's witch. That's why when we talk about witch on this island, we're referring to a master of the vast and savage forest. Come to think of it, when I stayed in this mansion when I was a little kid, during those eerie nights when the wind and rain pounded on the windows, I remember being terrified of the story of the forest witch who roamed around searching for human sacrifices. So, Beatrice, huh? When Aniki mentioned it, I searched my memory and was sure I recalled hearing a name like that when I was little. I see. Still, I totally forgot that the witch in that legend had an elegant name like Beatrice. So, did grandfather go out of his way to have a portrait made just because we grandchildren didn't believe the story? She's the witch from grandfather's delusions. Ever since he had this picture hanged, he's been having a harder and harder time telling the difference between truth and fantasy. To us, she's just a witch that exists in grandfather's mind. But to him, she's a being that exists on this island. Exists. He says that he had that painting made because the rest of us would be incapable of understanding otherwise. The whole thing's creepy as hell. Milady, this portrait is precious to the master. I beg of you, do not say such things in front of him. I know! Even if you didn't tell me, I'd never do something like that. Jessica glanced at the portrait with an irritated gaze before turning away. Let's go. We're making everyone wait in the dining room.
Ugh! I'm hungry!
Only a small portion of this island was controlled by the Ushiramiya family. All the lawless remainder was the domain of the witch Beatrice. You might even call her the true ruler of Rokkenjima. I felt a faint revival of that unsettling sense of misfortune, which I felt when I learned of the tutelary god's shrine being struck by lightning. I remember that Kumasawa tried to tell an ominous story about Rokkenjima before Jessica stopped her. I don't know what she was planning to tell us about this island. But I do know one thing. It isn't the Ushirimiya family that rules Rokkenjima. It is the witch, Beatrice. That's right. After all, this is the witch's island.
Balor! Ooh! You're slow!
When I looked around, everyone was already headed toward the dining room. I hurriedly chased after them. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining room. Genji knocked. I have brought the children. Please pardon the intrusion. The doors were opened and we were invited inside. The dining room, which looked exactly like you would imagine a rich person's dining room to be, had a super long table that was obviously positioned with no purpose other than to make the guests conscious of their rank. Our parents were already sitting in accordance to that ordering. You're late, brats. Hurry up and take a seat. Little bastard pressed us to sit. The only gaps in that group were the people where the spots were supposed to sit, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the head of the table, called the incipient's chair, was for the most highly ranked, reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. He probably wanted to show up last for dramatic effect. From the perspective of someone facing the incipient's chair head-on, the seating order went from left to right, with the lower-ranking seats progressing in rows of two further away from it. So, the left-hand side of the first row closest to the incipient's chair was where Uncle Kraus should have sat, since he was the second highest in rank. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet, so the seat was empty. Across from the chair on the right side of the first row sat the eldest daughter of the family, Aunt Ava, who was the third highest in rank. The left hand of the second row was for the fourth highest in rank. There sat my damn dad, Rudolph, the third of the siblings. Across from him on the right side of the row sat Aunt Rosa, the youngest sibling. At this point, you might expect their husbands and wives to sit next. But nope, the left-hand side of the third row, ranked number 6, belonged to Jessica. Opposite to her was George. I sat next to Jessica, and Maria sat across from me. And then finally, next to me on the left-hand side of the fifth row sat Aunt Natsuki, the 10th highest in rank. Opposite to her was Uncle Hideyoshi. Next to Aunt Natsuki in the 6th row and the final seat on the left-hand side sat Kyrie. The seat opposite to Kyrie was empty, even though silverware had been set there and everything. According to this ranking system, that spot was where Aunt Rosa's husband should be sitting. Even though he wasn't supposed to be coming, his place was made up. Normally, ranking systems of this sort give spouses equal positions as their partners, but the Ushirimiya family system was unique. Maybe it's a remnant of male chauvinism, but if you start with the assumption that a woman's womb is just something to be borrowed, the children of direct descent would come first, directly followed by the grandchildren. In other words, spouses have no blood ties and are therefore placed at the end of the line. It's terrible, but by this system, my grandmother would be ranked even lower than me if she were still alive. In their youth, they obeyed their father. After they get married, their husband. After aging, their children. There's an old saying, women have no home in any realm. Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring this all out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat in our little groups, adult siblings with adult siblings and cousins with cousins. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Aunt Natsu, who was married to the eldest son and was de facto number 2 in managing his family, sat to my right, which meant she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. It was hard to imagine what might be going on inside her heart. That's why I made a small, apologetic gesture toward her before sitting down. How nice to see you, Battler. You've grown quite tall, haven't you? Oh, yep! 6 long years of eating well, sampling various cuisines, and deriving sustenance from Mother Earth's bountiful gifts. Hard work, but I pulled through! Growing just like a boy, I see. How tall are you now? I guess about 180 centimeters, but Aunt Natsuki, that's where you're supposed to say, heck, sounds like all you did was eat. Huh. Oh, I'm sorry. After a short pause, she did laugh with me, but it seemed she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Aunt Natsuki. So Natsu, that is the character for summer. So, she's the... Okay, I know very little in, like, kanji, you know, the Chinese characters, okay? Because I'm... Okay, yeah. She's the wife of the eldest... I mean, yeah, these are technically Chinese characters, you know, because, like, some Japanese Chinese alphabets share the same, okay? Some of them can be different, okay? So that's... I'm just clarifying. But, yeah. Okay. Because, you know, cultural exchange. Anyway, she's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she's my father's older brother's wife. Is it simpler if I just call her Jessica's mother? It feels bad to say it like this, but while I didn't exactly dislike her, I didn't particularly like her either. She's hardly ever spoke with us kids, and all my memories of her involve her talking to the adults about complicated things with a scary look on her face. In fact, since we hardly ever exchanged words, I spent a long time trying to figure out how I should approach her. Through my efforts seemed to have ended in failure. The silverware sat neatly on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in yet. As a general rule, you shouldn't start a meal until the person sitting at the head of the table arrived. So as long as grandfather didn't come, lunch would be put on hold indefinitely. Not even the appetizers would arrive. Simply put, the silence in this room was caused by our parents enduring their hunger while they waited for grandfather to arrive. However, grandfather, from my memories, would always show up on time to meals like this. He's the kind of person who would never be so late that I kept everyone waiting, especially after the entire group had arrived. Grandfather's pretty late. As far as I can remember, he was always strict about time. Well, that might have been true 6 years ago, but it hasn't been that way lately. In fact, he's been off in his own little world so often that he doesn't even show up at family meals. Still, I figured he'd at least come down today. Then again, I feel a lot more relaxed and happy without him. Jessica! When her mother scolded her, Jessica stuck out her tongue and looked away. No way around it. Might as well just wait until our host arrives. I glanced at the clock and I saw it was almost 12:20. Oh, here comes spoiled Kinzo again. Ushirimiya Kinzo. The aged family head, the Ushirimiya family. Okay, that one is character for gold, I think. So yeah. And I think that's also like, I forget what day Ginyobi is supposed to be, but yeah. But anyway, this man could be seen in his study. The clock had already passed noon, but he didn't even attempt to rise from his seat. With his spectacles on, he built up a growing pile of books with elaborate bindings, which he then read intently. He couldn't really say that he was having too much fun to stop. Rather, he filled the room with a sense of impatience, or perhaps an impending sense of danger, as though every second wasted was a tragedy. In the sealed room, a dense dust danced through the air, which was thick in the stench of chemicals that exuded a mix of suspicious odors. These odors were somehow sweet and heavy. If anyone with a normal nose came in here, the first thing they'd do would be to open a window and ventilate this room. The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling "Father" sometimes mingled in with the knocks. If you can figure out where I got the Kraus voice from. Good on you. As Kinzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book in his hands and slammed it on the table. Then he yelled at Kraus, who was still knocking on the door. "Silence! Enough with that racket, you fool! Who told you the door would be open if you knocked? I'll crucify the imbecile! Do you wish to suffer the same fate?" "Father, this is the day of the family conference, which happens only once a year, is it not? Everyone's gathered down below. Please come out." Kraus called out to his father through the door. Kinzo always shut himself up in the study, hating it when nearly anyone, even his family, entered the room. I'm Kinzo when I want to be left alone. For that reason, Kraus had no choice but to call him from the corridor like this. This is the only time I'll ever find Kinzo relatable. "Molest me not! Just who is this everyone which you speak? Do You mean the fools trying to drag me out of here? Then kill them all! Tear them apart! Use their bodies for firewood and feed them into the witch's hearth! Put a pot in the hearth to boil the wormwood! Force the imbeciles who dare try to lure me out of here to drink the broth of the apocalypse! I'll soak their dregs in liquor! Ah, where is Genji? Call for Genji! Have my demonic ass been prepared? The whispering of the green fairy reaches me no longer! Ah! Where is Genji? Bring him here! Okay, so now you know he's drinking Asbin. So anyway. On the other side of the door, Kraus, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who stubbornly refused to come out. Looks like he hates me to the core. My voice doesn't reach him anymore. Kraus shrugged as though saying it's no use and smiled bitterly. From the beginning, he hadn't really expected his father to respond to his calls. However, since it was the duty of the eldest son, he has tried as a formality. Kinzo, your sons and daughters and grandchildren have come to see you, have they not? Would you just let them see your face, if only for a short while? Shut up! Be silent! You dare to admonish me, Nanjo! I never told anyone to get you, I told them to get Genji! Now call for him immediately! Time is short and the apostles are already hitting their trumpets, so why can't you foolish sheep understand? Kinzo slammed an old heavy book against the table over and over. That record clearly expressed his great displeasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open as if to sing to a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled. Why? Why is there always something in my way? I would throw it all away. I would offer up everything. And there is only one thing I ask him for repayment. Oh, Beatrice! If I could see your smile but one more time, I would plunder the smiles of the earth and offer them up all to you. Oh, commanders of the legions of locusts, reap the smiles of the earth. Ah, everything is filthy, everything is irksome. Why must I suffer this impediment of the most precious of days? Call for Genji! I have no idea what he's yelling about. He's probably lost his mind by now. Kraus, isn't it a bit harsh to say such a thing of your own father? My father's already dead. There's nothing here but a phantom of what father once was. At any rate, as long as he has no intention of coming out, there is nothing we can do. Kinzo. Choking coughs continued to pour from the study. I'm going back downstairs. It would be a waste to let the fruits of Goda's prize cooking talent get any colder. It's one of the few things our relatives can look forward to when they come to this house. Kraus spun around. He looked at his watch, mumbling and acting as though he had wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain. Genji, father is calling for you. Keep him company. Certainly. Dr. Nanjo, let's go eat. If we stay here any longer, the sweet stench will ruin our sense of taste. Without waiting for Nanjo, Kraus went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo glanced between the study door and Kraus's back, and as the latter disappeared down the stairs, and then let out a deep sigh. Sorry, Genji, but please allow me to leave this in your hands. Yes, please leave it to me. Do what you can to avoid giving him alcohol. That's a habit that's far too difficult to break. Is Genji not here yet? Who dares keep Genji from coming? Ah, where's Genji? Call for Genji! Please, allow me to handle the situation here. Very well, forgive me. Nanjo bowed slightly and descended down the stairs. Genji watched him leave and knocked on the study door. Master, it is Genji. Genji! Why have you kept me waiting so long? You're alone, I trust? Correct. I am alone. Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, the heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kinzo was convinced his family wanted to make a mess of his study, or perhaps someone had opened the window for some air and ended up scattering things that to him were important research materials, leaving him in a terrible mood. Kinzo had outfitted his room with a formidable lock, preventing anyone from entering without his permission and thereby sealing himself in a jail of his own making. Genji, whom he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that didn't always hold. If Kinzo was in a bad mood, even Genji wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through the door, unable to even see Kinzo's face. And most of the time, what they got could hardly be called a conversation. Oh wait, Kinyobi. Oops, I messed up. However, this person didn't trouble the rest of the family as much. After all, it wasn't just worth the effort to disturb this aging family head who was impossible to release and always stayed shut away, immersed in his research. Taking advantage of his refusal to leave his room, they supported his isolation, putting his care entirely into the hands of the servants. Genji, my usual. I'm busy. Yes, sir. Genji headed to the corner of the study. There, suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colors were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering the shady atmosphere of this room, one might easily suspect them of being some ghastly poison. Inside the study, the mysterious collection of books gathered by Kinzo had turned into a mountain. They were bizarre, ancient or banned books, all of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. But if you tried to call them old books, Kinzo would fly into a rage and say, "Call them grimoires!" There were also many mysterious objects that presumably held some meaning with regards to black magic, like candles suspiciously melted and molded into strange shapes. The constellation drawn on a certain celestial globe contained quite a few shapes that would draw even puzzled looks from anyone familiar with tonight's night sky. The carelessly strewn about books contained many illustrations, all of them religious or mysterious in nature, including some depicting demonically grotesque subjects or bizarre diagrams of various magic circles. And above all, a sweet, poisonous smell filled the room, profoundly assaulting the eyes and noses of those who entered for the first time. Eventually, it must surely make a person go numb and lose their grip on reality. Inside that study, Genji prepared Kinzo's usual drink with a well-trained hand. No one would even think of drinking such an ominous dark green liquid in that complex ornate glass, unless someone first told him it was alcohol. He poured a little into the glass. Then he placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon, and poured the water from the pitcher over it. Strangely, when that transparent water was poured, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It was a strange optical illusion, as though the water had caused a chemical reaction and made the drink become even more unrecognizable as liquor. Then, Genji added original flavors Kinzo loved, fine-tuning its taste. There was no recipe. Its success was only measured by Kinzo's mood swings when he drank it. It had been taken by Genji many decades to learn how to do it right. Genji placed the glass on the tray and walked over to Kinzo. By this time, Kinzo was gazing out the window. Here, master. Thank you. Kinzo had regained his composure and was now unrecognizable as the shouting, screaming, yelling man from a few moments ago. Looking at this man from behind as he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window, he projected a sense of dignity and intelligence. To allow Kinzo to set his glass down at any time, Genji motionlessly waited behind Kinzo to his left, as though he were a living sideboard. Then, without averting his eyes from the window, Kinzo held out his glass. There was only a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set it upon the tray, but a motion to hand the glass over to Genji. Drink, my friend. Your words are too kind for me. No need for ceremony between us. Drink, my friend. Thank you. Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little taste to its contents. After that, he gulped it down. I attempted to imitate your concoction, but no matter how I try, I cannot replicate the taste. The way you make it is pure relish. Thank you very much. It is the fruit of your guidance, master. Kinzo smiled at his loyal subject, who refused to put aside rank even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. His smile was relaxed, as though chuckling at his old friend's old unshakable habit. We have grown old together. I stopped counting the years long ago. It is entirely thanks to you, Master, that I have been able to live like this until today. Kinzo gave a faint smile, as if to say he didn't need any flattery. Until now, you have served me exceedingly well. My sons call me eccentric. The servants that were once many have all quit in fear of me. Only you serve me even now. Your words are more than I deserve. My life will not last much longer. My sons are vultures, lazily waiting for my inheritance to fall into their hands. Kraus is a fool who squanders money like water, who throws away 2 gold coins to obtain 1, and then he has the gall to claim that he's earned money. Ava is a slave to money who thinks of me as a mere chicken. When I die, she plans to use my bones to make a broth. That dunce Rudolph just wants to fool around with women. Rosa bore the baby of a man who came from nowhere and whom we know nothing. Jessica is incompetent and uneducated. George is none of what it takes to be a man. Bachelor is a fool who threw away the honor of the Ushiramiya family, and Maria is obscene to the eye. Why is the Ushiramiya blood so incompetent? Is there no one worthy to inherit the glory I built? Of course, I know this is part of Beatrice's curse. I know it. You golden witch. Are you trying to take revenge against me in this way? If you want to hate me, then do so. If you want to run away, then run. I won't let you go. 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 You belong to me. You must always be in my arms for all my life. You must stay in my birdcage for all eternity, whispering only to me. Beatrice, why won't you smile back at me? Oh, Beatrice! Oh. I hate this guy. He's a piece of shit. Maybe your family wouldn't be so shitty if you actually knew how to be a good dad, you dumbass. How about that? I'm sorry. I hate Kinzo. Okay? After you learn everything in this story, you might hate him as much as I do. Entertaining, fun character to read. Total piece of shit. Okay. After howling, Kinzo choked again. I do not feel bad at him at all, okay? He does not have my mercy. Genji set the tray and glass down and rubbed his master's back. Genji's facial expression did not change. It was always like this. Thank you, my friend. He looks like he's just putting up with his bullshit. When his seemingly deranged fit subsided, Kinzo regained his composure once again. It was like seeing 2 different people, a wild Kinzo and a composed Kinzo, living together inside one body. And so I have decided. I cannot bear to spend my dim remaining years procrastinating like this. If I have one final coin to bet, I choose to bet it to the whims of the demon's roulette. The power of magic is always determined by the risk of the gamble, like visiting a shrine, the hour of the ox in ancient Japanese sorcery, to nail a cursed doll to a tree. Magical power is produced specifically because of the risk that can be seen within 7 days the curse takes. The greater the risk, the stronger the magic power will be. Many miracles that happen in myth might be called the crystallization of shocking magic power, with low probability of occurrence and astronomical risk. That Moses parted the waters of the sea was not a miracle of God. The risk of that desperate situation cornered by the soldiers on the Red Sea shores weighed upon those scales of slaughter and gave birth to that miraculous magical power. If that same thing occurred again on the same scale, the sea would surely fail to part. After all, Moses was able to magnificently summon a miracle engraved on but one of the countless innumerable results on the roulette of those with power. That is the force that can triumph over astronomical odds. Indeed, good fortune that can grasp miracles is magical power itself. To obtain this mighty power, one must face the risk of despair. Those who possess no magical power may call that desperation rather than a bet. However, people who truly do possess magic power can grasp hold of that miracle and make the anima come into being. And if that power exists within me, I'll seize that miracle. I have a chance at making the wish I devote my life toward come true. Kinzo looked up to the sky outside the window. He spread his arms as if appealing to someone up in the skies. If only I were capable of grasping that miracle. Oh, Beatrice! Beatrice! Show me your lovely smile once more. No matter how much time passes, your face does not vanish. I just want to see your smile, that is all. I'll return everything you granted me. I'll return all the glory I've gained since that day. I don't need fortune, prestige, or gold. I'll return everything you gave me. I just want to see your smile. I beg you, Beatrice. Oh, I hate this guy so much. If he sounds stupid, good. I'm glad my voice cannot reach the level of a man, so he sounds awful. His nonsensical yells became a scream and then a wail. Kinzo slumped to the floor, tearing at it with both hands. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's lamentations. I have no sympathy for him. Screw him. Screw you, Kinzo. Bastard. I don't care about you. I won't spoil the story. I just hate him. Okay. Let me calm down. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the family's head's health is not at its best. He seemed extremely sad not to be able to share lunch with you all. But now that you've gathered for this event that occurs but once a year, Gilda, let the lunch begin. Certainly, I shall begin today's luncheon. Dr. Nancho, is father's condition really that bad? Couldn't he have at least let us see his face? It's more a problem of mood than physical condition. And for that, there is no medicine I can prescribe. Hey, are we talking about his mood again? You gotta be kidding me. We took time out of our schedules during this damn busy autumn season just to come and find out how he's doing. And now he's... Then you should be happy, Rudolph. You now know how he's doing. Or what? Would you rather me take my place and try to persuade our ill-humored father to come join us? Are you kidding? Rudolph shrugged. Apparently, though Rudolph was willing to be indignant at how self-centered his father was, he wasn't particularly disappointed to be spared a face-to-face meeting. It does seem like his mood will improve before dinner. Kraus? I have no idea. If you want to know that, you should ask him directly, although I think his mood will improve faster if we don't bother him. Genji's the only one who can get grandfather out of a funk. It's pretty pathetic though, making the servants deal with your own parents' bad mood. Jessica, don't speak out of turn. She planned for her complaint to be heard only to her cousins, but it reached even Kraus's ears. Scolded, Jessica scowled and turned away sulking. If he's as cranky as they make him sound, he can't be that terribly sick, right? I mean, they're saying he's in a bad mood. Not that he's got no energy, but it at least proves he's got his wits about him. It's because grandfather has especially strong willpower. However, that doesn't necessarily mean his body will be able to keep up. Since last year, they kept saying that he has 3 months left. If the initial diagnosis was correct, grandfather's been prolonging his life by willpower alone. It's right for us to worry about him. Lunch started with the family head's seat still empty. The man who should be sitting here had already grown old, and the brilliant glory which had rebuilt the Ushirmiya family in a span of a single lifetime was being forgotten. Even though they were beginning the meal with the seat still empty, no one felt it was that odd anymore. We can stop reading for tonight about that chapter. I can't stand Kinzo, okay? I will not be giving him dignity. I will not be giving him an unbiased take. I hate him too much. Okay? I hate him. He's a terrible dad. He's like, my family sucks. Well, it didn't have to. Maybe you should try being a good dad. Ew. Parents be like, why do my kids hate me? Well, let's go through the profiles. Ushiromiya Kinzo, the aged head of the Ushiromiya family. Even though it's already been announced that he just has a few months left to live, he is brimming with energy. Though he amassed a vast fortune in the past, he never made any announcements regarding the inheritance, which worries his children. He is strongly influenced by the West and is a rabid fan of the occult. His study is packed with mysterious grimoires. Because he will also yell at you here too if you dare call them anything else. Just kidding. Ushiromiya Natsuki, Krause's wife. She manages the household of the Ushiromiya head family in her place of her husband, who takes little interest in such matters. She is charged of all preparations and arrangements for the family conference. She possesses a strong sense of responsibility and a great deal of pride. However, neither her husband nor his siblings understand her very well, so her position is far from enviable. Servant Genji, the leader of the servants who works for the Ushiromiya family. He has served Kinzo longer than any other and the person most trusted by that old man. Since he serves Kinzo directly, Krause and Natsuki think of him as a spy for Kinzo. Servant Shannon, a young but experienced servant. She's normally calm and performs her job efficiently, but she messes up when she gets nervous. Furthermore, Shannon is nothing more than a pseudonym that she uses when on duty and not her real name. Huh, so I wonder what her real name is. I'm just kidding. I already know. Anyway, most of the characters have been introduced. Not all the profiles have been introduced yet, but we can go ahead and read some, okay? So, okay. Obviously, Shannon is my favorite servant. Let's see, the four cousins. Maria is my favorite, but so is Balor if I didn't have to pick the two older ones. Okay? Out of my favorite dad is Hideyoshi. My favorite mom is Tide. I love them both. Alright. Alright. Done for tonight. Bye-bye. Yeah, where are we? Bye-bye.